Welcome back to the Chicago Tomahawk. I'm Mike, and I got my line mate Matt with me. Today we're going to go over some Blackhawks news. Connor Bedard is back. It's a big deal. And some NHL news. So, Matt, the Blackhawks dropped their first game with Bedard back against the Penguins. You knew that he was coming back against the Penguins to play against Sidney Crosby. He's going to play against Crosby every chance he gets. And we won one today against the lowly Ottawa Senators. So, the Penguins game, you had some analysis that you wanted to give on a play. We can get into that in a second. But overall, how do you think Connor Bedard's play was coming back after 8 weeks of injury?
Well, he looked like he's been well rested. You know, he looked good out there offensively. The first shift obviously didn't go as well as he thought. He didn't win the faceoff. Kind of a fluke play. But Sid was his man, and Sid had the nice redirect, and I think it was like a 15-second marker. I believe so. The Hawks were trailing, but you know the next play, the next goal against, which was his second minus of the game, minus whatever you want to call it. But yeah, he kind of made the old Patrick Kane play where you skate in the zone, kind of put the brakes on and look for your defenseman reinforcements coming in, and he kind of forced a play with two Penguins in the slot. And instead of making the easy play, which Nick Foligno, I thought, did a great job, he drew the defenseman away from Bedard, and he actually gave himself more space to make another play. I think if he went down low, hit Foligno could have kind of set him up with a nice give and go because that slot was wide open. But it didn't go that way, and it went back. I think it was like a 2-on-1 for him, but I credit Bedard skating hard. He back-checked hard back to kind of cover the pass, but his back was turned the wrong direction, and they got their second goal of the game, and it was his second. He was a -2 there, so. Yes, I think he had a pretty rough period, but, you know, he came back and, you know, he played a lot better the rest of the game. He ended up getting a nice assist to Kurashev, who's been huge surprise you've kind of been a, not a tough critic on him, but we thought we'd get a little bit more, but I don't know about you, man, but when Bedard went down, I think Kurashev was one of those guys that really stepped up.
I agree. I want to get into two guys since you brought that up. You know, Kurashev, when he first came onto the scene, it was like, whoa, this guy's got some skill. You know, he showed flashes of it. And then, you know, we're a season or two in and, you know, he's losing his skates and, you know, he makes a play here and a play there, but then he'll disappear for 5 games. And now it seems like this season, you know, after he went to arbitration with the Hawks, he is, maybe it could be because of Bedard, but I would say he's been him and Foligno have been Bedard's best line mates so far. And I think that he has definitely found a home playing there with him because he seems to be able to play at Bedard's frequency, whether setting him up with the puck or being in a position to receive that puck like in that Penguins game and bury a goal. So number one, I want to talk about Kurashev and how he has kind of stepped up into that role. And number two, I want to mention how Lukas Reichel is taking a huge amount of hate from I don't want to say the fan base, but you know, a lot of people are expecting this kid to come up and be Bedard, and he's not, you know, and I think that's an issue where he needs time to develop. And Bedard needs to develop too, because he's not perfect. Yeah, he's consistently on the score sheet, and that is what you want. But there are, you know, more things that we do want from him, more I would say more reliability in the defensive end is one of them, or even in the offensive end, you know, and playing good defense there as well. But I think that Reichel is getting a lot of hate, and I think that he needs to be at the bare minimum on that second line, getting top minutes so that he can develop. This is, we're not trying to make the playoffs. As a matter of fact, we're trying to get Macklin Celebrini, and they're losing games, but putting him in a position, there's nothing to lose doing that. And I'm getting this. I've said it before. I'm getting this. Nick Leddy, Coach Q thing going on with Luke Richardson and Reichel, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I honestly would like to see him play with Bedard, but I don't think you can at this point, just because Kurashev and Foligno have been so good with them. I mean, you got to have... You need production. I mean, you got Dickinson. I think Dickinson needs kind of a wingman. You know what I mean? I think a guy like Reichel could help. And, going back to your point, like, a lot of fans are just all over him. And you know what, dude? A lot of Hawks beat writers are all over him, too. And I feel they just kind of sheep in line and just follow the leader. Like,
yeah, they
are.
And
that's not fair. And when you ask them, like, okay, well, I forgot who I got into it with, but it's like, okay, how many games consistently did he play with the same line mates? I would say maybe 2. Switch it up. You can't do that with a young player, especially when we're not playing for anything. You have to give him a solid line mate for 10 to 15 games. Who cares at this point? Put him with the same line mate. If he doesn't produce, okay, then maybe you're right. They have to send him to Rockford for a little bit or try to find somewhere for him to play. But he can't play 2 games, nothing happens, and change him to a lower, like a demotion line, like 3rd or 4th line.
Right.
It's never going to get better. You never healthy scratch a player either, especially a young one. I mean, come on. These guys are going to make mistakes, and you want them to make mistakes to learn. So
yeah, they're supposed to.
I mean, I always go back to the same analogy or the same whatever I say with Keith and Siebes. Those guys played together in 2006. And pretty much the whole season, I think they were a pair. Those guys made so many mistakes. But, dude, they grew together, and they became one of the best defensive pairs in Hawks history. And I credit Trent Yawney was the coach at the time. Savard was the coach. He kept them together. They just kept going. They stuck with it, and look what happened, It
was the same thing. They were playing for nothing.
We weren't playing for anything. We were playing for Kane, a high draft pick, like Kane, Taves. We were getting all these guys. We were getting, we had our young core coming up, just kind of like buying time, kind of like what the Hawks are doing now. They're filling in, like, with guys like Foligno and our, 2 years mentoring guys and showing them the right way. And I that's been a great signing, great trade and signing for Davidson. I love that move, but I just think that the management team and maybe Richardson, they're really botching this with Reichel because this is his first year in the NHL. And this is Bedard's first year in the NHL. A lot of guys, this is their first year. And you're talking like, oh, he doesn't have 20 goals yet. Like, and you're mad? Like, what? That's not the point of a rebuild. I feel like they're giving other guys passes that, oh, yeah, well, he's young. What about Reichel? He was just call up and down last year. Right? At times, he was the best Hawk when he was called up. He was better than Patrick Kane.
Was.
So I just think they're really botching this. And, I mean, I don't want to see Reichel getting healthy scratch. You don't learn anything. You got to play him. And
especially after he gets an assist the game before.
Put him on the power play with Bedard. Just get him. It's really hard because this line is playing so good. You kind of want to see him with Bedard, but you at this point you can't because, like I said, Foligno and Kurashev are just working. You don't mess with something that's working. Yeah, you can't do that. But yeah, put him up with Dickinson. Put him on the center with Dickinson and another line mate because they switch a lot. So I just wish that they would be more patient with this kid because, like, I go back to the Hawks are very patient with Connor Murphy, and has Connor Murphy done anything?
Look at Kurashev.
They were very patient with him.
Kurashev was in a top draft pick. Yep. He wasn't treated like Reichel is.
No, Connor Murphy's development has been very slow too. If you call it developing, I just don't think he's done much. you got guys that get a lot of passes for some reason, and they're really, really hard on Reichel. Like, in the media, it makes it worse too. Like, oh yeah, he was a healthy scratch. He only played 4 minutes this game. Oh yeah, he's on the fourth line on a team that's in last place, and he's not a fourth line player. He's not a Mackenzie Entwistle type of player. So that's the thing that I don't like, and I think that they really need to rethink what they're doing. I mean, I'm just here talking to you. I'm not like a hockey-minded expert, but I'm not stupid. If you keep switching a guy, with different line mates all the time, it's not going to work.
Well, a lot of times, us what are they called, the couch GMs, get it right a lot better than some of these beat writers, because a lot of these beat writers are drinking the Kool-Aid from the organization, and or maybe they just need something different to write about. But Reichel, on one hand, last year he was shooting a lot more, and this year they're asking him to shoot more, and he's not. Is that like a confidence thing? Here's something else to think about. Reichel, he's not a trigger man. They're looking for offense, but he's not a trigger man. He's somebody that sets people up. He's
a creative player, but you got to put creative-minded guys with him. You can't put a fourth-line banger out there with him. He's got one thing on his mind.
What kind of a shooter can we put out there with him? Because Taylor Radish isn't cutting it this year.
Look at Jason Dickinson. He's got 16 goals. But I think he's behind Bedard, and he just got a 2-year extension. So this is a guy you can be like, okay, he's going to be here for a while. Let's see how you fit with this guy. But
give him a shot.
I mean, at this point, you want him to be that guy. He's not going to be the guy if he's a healthy scratch or sent to Rockford. You're not teaching him anything. So hey, if I'm Richardson or Davidson, I'm going to have a little meeting. I'm going to say, hey, all right, well, you're not where we want you to be, and obviously you're not happy with your play either. But here, you are going to center Jason Dickinson for the next 15 games. We need you to put up at least 10 points, and we want you to score at least 5 goals, whatever. Give him a goal, and I bet you if he develops a chemistry with the kid, that good things might happen. But you're never going to see any production if he's a healthy scratcher on the fourth line. And honestly, if you're on the fourth line, for him, he's better off being scratched, because that's not his type of game. He's not an energy guy. He's not a guy you send out there to go bang some bodies around, or just put some pucks on net, cause a little havoc. He's not that guy. What is he, 20 years old? He's a skilled guy.
He's not Mackenzie Entwistle.
He's not Mackenzie Entwistle or half the team that's been called up. Like, they're nothing against the guys. They're just they're grinders.
I like
they're
Mackenzie
bangers.
Entwistle.
You need them. You need those guys. But right now, we're looking for guys to build our top 6. And we know Bedard and Kurashev are probably going to be those guys in the future as of now. And then you got, Frank Nazar, you got Oliver Moore, and then our back end, I heard Nolan Allen, nothing but great things down there with him. Ethan Del Mastro, another. Yeah. I'm excited about those guys. Those are defensemen, though. The Hawks' D-core is pretty solid. Then we got Colton Dock, which there are rumors that he might get a shot this year, which would be pretty interesting. I would like to see that. Yeah, I heard he's been doing well.
I would too, man.
At this point, why not? Do what you did with Reichel last year. Give him a 3-game trial. If you like him, hey, keep him up. If you don't, hey, he's a couple steps behind, so let's send him back. There you go. But
he's a big body.
I would like to see it. We got guys, and even the goaltender, Jason Stuber, or whatever his name is, he got a shutout last night, and he scored a goal. He scored an open net goal. He's like the first goalie to ever get a shutout and score in the same game. It's freaking incredible. But I'd like to see at this point, too, Soderblom can't play the Maple Leafs 82 games because that's the only team he can beat. I think he's got 2 wins. but Mrazek has been solid. I honestly thought that teams would be calling about him and overpaying him at the deadline. But hey, I'm happy he's on our team.
We did.
I'm happy he's on the team because the guy's a gamer, and in my opinion, he's been the best Blackhawk all season. That's not kind of
when he played for the Detroit Red Wings, I thought that he was really good.
He was very good on the Hurricanes too. That's the year that they had him and I think it was McKinley, Curtis McElhinney, maybe his name is. Those guys were ripping it up, and then Carolina likes to sign guys that get hurt a lot. Two of them from Sweden.
They do.
And they're both hurt
They love
now.
it.
And maybe I'll just jump to a quick NHL topic. I don't know if you heard, but Jacob Markstrom, who I thought the Hurricanes should have went after, they didn't. It was Jersey, and that trade fell through because there was no salary retaining. So I was surprised to hear that. But
Wow.
God, if I am the GM of Carolina, dude, I'm on the phone every day with a goalie, a guy, Gibson, anybody, Elvis. We need a goalie because a lot of people think they're still Stanley Cup contenders, but I can't say they are with with the goaltending. I can't take them serious.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Getting a little off track.
can't either.
I'm getting on the goalie talk, but
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not happy with Reichel's how they're handling Reichel.
Yeah, I'm not either. We have another team that they played, the Ottawa Senators. We won 3-2. Bedard had a really nice goal. You know what, Matt? The Ottawa's another team, kind of like the Blackhawks, where they had a lot of young guys coming in, and they let these young guys play. Like Tim Stützle.
Yeah, the diver. Yep.
He's a pretty good player, but they let him develop. Brady, they let him develop, and it seems like obviously the Hawks aren't doing that with Reichel. They're not just letting him play. They let these kids play and come into their own. Maybe the Hawks have something to learn from that, but then again, they just beat
the team,
Ottawa, and I couldn't believe it. And to be honest with you, Brady Tkachuk was kind of
he had one nice hit. That's it. But other than that, a non-factor.
I didn't notice him at all.
He had one nice hit at the end of the period. He laid the dude out. It was a Tkachuk-like hit for sure. But yeah, nothing offensively at all. He didn't really hear his name with the puck even. So,
do you think that Brady Tkachuk is a little overrated?
No, I don't think he's overrated. I think he's on the wrong team though. I don't think he's going to last there, quite honestly. I think he's going to get really sick and tired of the losing ways there and the expectations of they think they're a playoff team every year and they're clearly not even close.
No way.
I think he's going to go play with his brother. I think
Really?
that would be awesome. As a fan, I want to see that.
Do you think? Wow, I didn't think of that.
I would love.
Then again, they are the type to just sit out.
I am a Blackhawks fan. I love the Hawks, but I think as I'm older, I am more of a hockey fan than a Hawks fan now. But
sure,
I would love to see Brady and Matthew Tkachuk on the same line. I just think it would be unbelievable. And the Florida Panthers would be like, they're studs now. I think Florida is like my pick for the East. And I love Tampa. I still have a little thing for Tampa. I think they can make some noise, but Florida this year, they're so good. And if they got a guy like Brady too, oh my God, dude, that'd be like the dream team. And there's like a petition going on. I don't know if you heard. Matthew Tkachuk, or actually it was Biz, he called them a bunch of hyenas. And now people want him to change the name to the Florida Hyenas. I think that would be cool as hell. Because they play like it, dude. They just hound you. They were hitting. They got some. I just love what they're doing down there.
Yeah, they are. Obviously they scraped their way to the Stanley Cup Finals last year and probably ran out of juice.
Best performance I've ever seen
okay.
Matthew Tkachuk in the final, dude. Guy played with something was a serious injury. He played through it, and the dude scored like every game. That's just amazing to me, and I think they figured it out. They got a good backup guy. He's on I think he's almost 40 goals. Sam Reinhart. He's right behind Matthews, which is super impressive. He's a free agent, dude. I wonder what he's gonna get because this is like his first free agency kind of like big deal he's gonna get. I don't know what Florida's gonna do. I'm sure they
You don't think it's a fluke?
You gotta pay him. Oh no, dude, he's playing great. I think he is just a natural shooter. He's in a good environment, better than Buffalo. He's if I'm him, I'm staying in Florida. But I think if he wanted to test the market, he'd probably get $10 million a year if he wanted. I
Really?
think so, dude. You hit 40, that's a big deal. Huge deal. I think he's going to get 9,
Yeah, it is.
9 maybe with Florida. But if he tested somewhere else, he's going to get a lot. But Florida gave him a shot, and look, he's got a career high here. I think it's a no-brainer, and they're going to be contenders for a long time. Matthew Tkachuk in the lineup, he's a game breaker, dude. They got good depth on D. Connor Verhaeghe's a good player, underrated guy they took from Tampa a couple years ago. This guy's quietly a 30-goal guy.
He stays under the radar, man, and he puts up points.
It's amazing. You got Barkov.
Yeah. And he flies. Yeah. He's like Kyle Connor. They both fly under the radar and put up points.
We forgot about Barkov, the freaking captain. He's one of the most underrated players in the league. And then you got Tkachuk.
Yeah, he is.
Can you imagine if they kept?
He's just boring to watch. That's all that it is.
But Huberdeau, that guy's just. Oh God, he's got to be like at his condo in Calgary. Just he's probably got
playing Russian
roulette.
He's
probably got 100 holes in the wall from just him punching it. Like, God damn it, why would I get traded? But oh man, it's just got to suck for him. But that's my pick right now for the East, dude. I think Florida, they're gonna come out on top in the East.
You don't think Toronto's got it?
Nope, Toronto's gonna get knocked out in the first if they even make the playoffs.
Wow. Okay. Again,
you need someone to stop the puck. If
that happens,
you need someone to stop the puck. They don't have a guy who can stop the puck.
If that happens, dude, what happens in Toronto? Because they're talking, Mitch Marner's contract is going to be coming up, and they're looking to pay this dude big money.
Like I said, you kind of shot yourself in the foot with the Tavares deal, but I know it's his last year is next year, so you got to live with that 13 mil hit. But I don't know what you do, dude. I think you really can't do much because you're cap tied. You got the best natural goal scorer since Ovechkin in Matthews. He's going to score 40 minimum a year. I think he's actually there now. He might be 30. I think he scored a couple goals tonight, so I'm not sure.
Let me check.
Obviously, you have to keep him. He's going to be the greatest American goal scorer of all time. I think he's going to probably pass Kaner in points, too. That's just how good he is, just scoring goals.
I think he'll score goals, but I don't think he'll pass him in points.
I don't know, man. He's still pretty young. And if you keep Mitch Marner with him,
he is.
But in the end, if you don't have cups, like, hey, Kaner's going to be, I don't give a shit. I got 3 Stanley Cups. So, same with Modano. Modano got his cup in 99, and he had the title for a little while. I don't think he's going to give 2 shits if Matthews passes him with 0 cups, because that's all you care about in the end. But
it is, man. It is.
Back,
here's another impressive stat for Austin Matthews. On the season, he's a plus 20. In his career, he's a plus 129.
Yeah, when you're on the ice and you score a lot, that good shit happens. It helps.
If you look at our friend Erik Karlsson, that's not the case, dude.
Well, no, I think he's still a plus player, though, isn't he?
Dude, Austin Matthews is at 48 goals, man.
Yeah, so he's right there. And that's 2 goals tonight he scored, I believe. I think he pots them in tonight, for sure. So he's going to be at 50, and you know what, man? The way he's playing, is 70 possible?
Yeah, they're saying he might hit 70 this year.
It could happen. I would love to see it. I'd cheer for him. I mean, I'm not a Leafs fan by any means, but an American kid dominating the sport is awesome for me. I love it. I love when Americans dominate, and it's gonna suck though if you score 70 and you don't make the playoffs. That would just be brutal. But Toronto needs someone to stop the puck. That's the bottom line in the playoffs. It's not open. Like it's a tight game. It's old school hockey, which I love. Playoff hockey brings the good, the way you should play hockey. Physical, scrums after the whistle, just nastiness. I love it. I don't think the Leafs can play that game. And if they're a wild card team, they're going to run into somebody good, like probably Boston But look what happened to Boston last year. Anything could happen, but I would not want to play the Panthers at all. I would be terrified if they were like the last wild card seed.
Again?
No, they're going to finish first. I'm talking about Toronto. If Toronto finished the last wild card, because obviously they lost their best defenseman for 5 games with suspension.
Yeah.
That hurts. But if you barely squeak in and you got to play the Panthers, I would not want to play them in the playoffs. Especially they're hungry. They want to win it because they were close last year and they did a little retooling, and I think they're scary.
Do you think that we were talking about a little bit ago? Like, where is Carolina at in this? Do you think that they're an ascending team where they're a favorite to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, or do you think that they've kind of peaked out a bit and are kind of on their way down?
I think they're like, what do you call it, the mushy middle. Like they are good.
It's a bad
they're
place
gonna
to
make
be.
it, but they're not going to go far. And you know what? I want to cheer for these guys because I really like their fans. I think their fans are really passionate about their team, and they show up. They fill that building up. Maybe there's not a lot of fans, but they fill it up every night, and they're hungry for it. But I think they're getting ripped off. I think that they need to address the problem. It's been like this the last 3 years. The goalies have really hurt them in the playoffs. And like we just said, the playoffs are tight games. Sometimes you need to lean on your goalie to steal you some wins. And the perfect example of a guy stealing wins was Marty Brodeur. The Devils couldn't score a lot of goals, but the dude prevented a lot of goals from going in.
2-1
Sometimes
games.
you needed to score 2 to win. And
2-1 snooze fest, OT wins.
Yeah, it's boring, but it's all about winning at the end, and that's playoffs. And
That's true.
I just don't think Freddie Anderson. I think Freddie Anderson's last good year was 2015 against the Hawks. He had him.
That's almost a decade ago.
He had him in the Ducks. They choked Game 7. They choked, and Jonathan Toews showed up.
I wouldn't say they choked. I would say Jonathan Toews willed that win to happen.
They were up 3-2 on us.
They were
choked, and Toews, Mr. Clutch, just shows.
You know
up.
what, man? That's interesting because I thought that Anaheim was a really good team, but I thought that the Blackhawks were better. I thought that the Blackhawks were a better team.
Dude, that Ducks team was solid. And their backup goalie was Gibson. That's how good they were. And I mean, you had Kessler playing the mind games with Toews and really getting to him at times, and then Game 7, Toews was like, man, fuck this guy. And he went into the turbo mode period of his life. I think he got a hat trick in the first period or something. And it was just awesome.
And like 4 takeaways.
Still my favorite playoff series of all time as of to date. You know, it was such a good battle, and that just brought me back. Old time hockey. That's what that series was. And you know, that was the final that year, dude. It wasn't Talks versus Tampa. That was the Stanley Cup right there for me. And you know, Tampa was good, but come on, they were nowhere near the Ducks.
They were young.
And it was cool. We got to see like the emergence of Hedman. You know, that dude was a beast. And they just weren't. They were good, but they just, you know, you have to learn from the best sometimes. And then they did. You know, they won 2 in a row and couple years later, and they were ready to roll. But yeah, man, that was such a good series, the Ducks and Hawks, and man, I wish I had like footage of that. I should probably look on Apple and just buy the whole series because it was awesome.
Wonder if we can.
I think you could. I remember 2011. I bought the Game 6 2010 win. When we beat Philly for our first cup in like, what was it, 48, 49 years. But that whole series was great. And going back to Carolina, they need a goalie that could stay healthy first. They need a guy who could, you know, not get hurt. I don't even know why Ranta, I'm surprised he's still playing. Even Anderson, he's got blood clotting issues. I'm surprised the dude wants to come back. That's serious, dude.
It is.
I mean, that's scary. So, I mean, I keep hearing all these rumors. New Jersey's on the hunt for a goalie. They want UC Saros. And he's a good goalie. And you put some offense in front of him, he's probably got to be the happiest dude in the world because he's been stuck in
what should they
Nashville.
Give up, though?
Exactly. You're going to give up a first-round pick for sure, and probably a goalie, probably maybe a prospect because, you know, Nashville's kind of that team, too, like in the middle. Sometimes they make the playoffs. Sometimes they just miss out. It's like, shoot, man, I think I'd rather be in a rebuild like the Hawks than being in the mushy middle because you're not going to get a high pick. You know, you're not going to sell off and get assets because if you're going for it, you know, you're not going to sell the farm or move a current guy. I think it's a good debate to have because, you know, you think you'd have – I'll take 3 bad seasons in a row and then get some solid picks and some solid prospects and stuff, than sitting in the middle, barely making the playoffs or making the first round and getting bounced for those 3 years. So, I mean, Mick Kern was talking about this on NHL radio with these teams that are always in the middle, and he's like, man, they got to get new ideas because I think he used Nashville actually. Like, they were talking about Barry Trotz. It's like, okay, you made the playoffs, but you just got swept again. You didn't barely even showed up. Sometimes you need to tear it down and be bad like the Hawks are going to do, and just to get those those promising players, and then you're back at the top quick. So, and Pittsburgh's going to go through it too, man. They're right behind us. Once Sid's gone, I mean, what is that team going to be?
They're going to have to completely tear it down and build it back up.
Dude, it takes time. You get different ideas and you get busts and stuff. Like, you're Adam Bodequists. It's like, this guy's going to be the name. Yeah. He doesn't even end up, doing anything. So it's a gamble. And I think if you're the Hurricanes, you gotta go for it, because these guys are getting older and older, and I'm sure their fans are getting sick of getting bounced in the second round, especially by the same teams.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that, because what do the Penguins do? Are they going to have to suck for 3 years before they can get that number one pick?
I mean, if they're on the bubble right now, I would move guys. I know that Jake Gensel's a good player, and he's hurt though now, so now you really can't move him. But you got to start thinking about the future. And I know they hired Kyle Dubas, the ex Maple Leaf GM, and he did make some good picks, that guy, but he also threw a little too much money around too, I believe. So they believe in the guy. But if I'm them, I'm going to start early and learn from these other teams like the Hawks. LA got lucky. They kind of retooled on the fly. Their young guys kind of stepped up. We didn't get that lucky. We tried to give Kane and Taves a last run, which they deserved. They deserved a team out there and try to go for one more cup, and it was a bomb. Fleury was cool to get, and Tyler Johnson wasn't exactly the guy we thought he was going to be. And who else did we sign?
Well, he's been hurt.
Yeah, the poor kid's hurt almost every other freaking game, it feels like. But that might be a guy, teams might be interested too. Tyler Johnson, he could be he wins cups. He knows how to win, and good locker room guy. And I know Tampa misses the hell out of him every time there's a Tyler Johnson a goal highlight. There's always Tampa guys saying, "Oh, we love you, TJ," and stuff like that. We miss you, and it'd be cool for him to go back. But going back to Pittsburgh, I think if you're Pittsburgh, you're not going to make the playoffs. Start moving guys, because that Carlson contract, that is going to freaking kill you and put you back a couple years, because that's been a bomb.
You'd think that signing meant that they're looking to try to make the playoffs and go for another cup run.
Well, that's kind of what I was just saying with the Hawks. I mean, you want to do right by your guys like Crosby, Malkin, Letang. Hey, you guys deserve it. You guys deserve to go for another cup run with the Penguins. We're going to try to make it happen, and it's just not working out. I think they got troubles in net. They got troubles on D, and I think you got to start thinking about even bringing Sid in. There's rumors Sid wants, or the Avalanche want to unite McKinnon and Crosby together, which would be awesome. But I can't see Sid ever leaving that team.
I don't think he would leave.
I think he's going to go down with the ship, and so be it. The kid's a legend, and I respect. I really respect the hell out of him if he would stay. But if he pulls a Kaner and says, "Hey, I got to get one more. I got to go for one more," and he goes to Colorado, can you imagine that line? Oh, that team with Crosby and McKinnon. That would just be nasty. But there's rumors floating around. People are talking about it. I just that would be insane. I just can't see him leaving. Malkin, maybe try it, but I think he's another guy he's going to want to stay too. But
I think I think that Malikin, he doesn't really have a leg to kind of stand on, man. He doesn't have much left.
Yeah, I'm surprised they threw a little money around to these guys. Letang is another one. I like the guy, but, his numbers aren't that great. He's getting older.
They're not, and his health is if it hasn't already deteriorated. It's going to.
And then he was a power play guy last year, and then you got Carlson. It's kind of like you bumped the kid. You know what I mean? They both can't be on the ice at the same. Well, they could be, but you
doing the same thing.
You're paying. You're over. That's just a Dubas move. I just don't. I don't know. He won the Norris Trophy last year, but I'm sure he got it. He with the Sharks. They were terrible last year. He got a shit ton of ice time, I'm sure. And, the puck was going in for him. But, it's still weird you finish with a minus and you win the Norris. I just never understood that. But, yeah.
Did you see what Torts said the other day? I
did. And I love Torts, and usually I agree with a lot of what he says. Probably closer to 99.9% of it.
Yeah, he was mentioning that, that players these days the coaching is very different because you have to deal with, back in the day you had guys who were trying to make the team, they're trying to earn their respect and earn their spot on the squad, and nowadays you have kids that are coming up and, they're kind of guaranteed a spot in a way. They're getting big money really, really early. That guys typically had to be in the league, 6 to 7 years before they were seeing that kind of dough. Do you think that? I think that Torts is right, but do you think that the NHL is enabling these younger stars more than they are their coaches? And meaning that these kids are starting this kind of I want to say a movement, but things are changing where these kids have more power than they ever had before.
Definitely changing, and I sent you a video the other day of Jagr Fortnite dancing with one of his buddies before the game.
Oh yeah, I saw that, man. I saw a few weeks ago.
In the back, like, oh my god! If I acted like this, I would have gotten killed by Chris Pronger or Teemu Solani. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think
Solani probably laughed, but Pronger probably would have taken
Pronger. That team would be like, "Are you freaking kidding me? Like, come on, kid."
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's definitely changing. Like Zegras is an example. That kid, he is a nice kid, good personality. But I remember him. He played his first 3 years. Had a good year last year. I think he's 60 points. You hear reports of him not being happy. He wants like $7 to $8 million a year, and it's like, how'd you come up with that? And obviously the agents they base it off all their players, and Jack Hughes got that money. Okay. Jack Hughes also, he's scoring 40 goals and getting 100 points.
He was a number 1 draft pick at the time, too.
Yeah, but his first 2 years were brutal, dude. And I remember you had COVID, and I did this podcast by myself, which I was probably shitting my pants with nerves. But I remember talking about that, and I'm like, wow, how did you come up with that? And $8 million for 8 years, Jack Hughes, and I'm just thinking to myself, damn, if that's gonna set the bar for all these young guys. And yeah, that contract looks really good right now. I said it's a gamble, and it was a gamble for both parties, and it could have been very bad for the Devils if he was only putting in 20 goals and 20 assists, but he took off. And that $8 million a year is nothing. Like, in a couple of years, that's going to be like, holy shit, this guy's playing for free compared to what these new guys are playing for. But Zegras,
he's probably regretting it.
He might be, but he got that term. It's guaranteed. NHL, you're guaranteed that money unless you're going to be bought out, which very unlikely. Yeah. Jack Hughes will be bought out. But going back to Zegras, $7 million he wanted for 60 points. Okay.
Crazy.
$7 million in 2010 was considered like elite. Remember the Hawks gave that to Brian Campbell or like $8 million, whatever.
It was like 7.2.
That was
year,
considered okay.
Or 7
that's
even.
big bucks, and it's crazy how it's changed. But he and credit Verbeek, the GM of the Ducks. He's like, I'm not giving you $7 million. And
he tried to bring him back down to earth.
And there was a wait out. They were seeing who's going to bite first, and eventually Zegras got his. I think he signed a 2-year deal at $4 million or whatever, which is.
I thought it was 3 or 4 at 3.5,
which is very fair. I think that's a good contract where it's right where he needs to be. But he's not happy about it. I'm sure not happy he didn't get his way, and there's reports he's on the trade block now. But I'm with Torts on this. I think these guys, they get the wrong people in their ears, and they demand stuff like this kid who just got traded to the Ducks from Philly. What's his name? Gauthier or something.
Gauthier, yeah.
You really you're just gonna say you want to trade and not give the team a reason? Like they drafted you, dude. Like who do you think you are? There's just guys that I just like. Yeah, Eric Lindros pulled that too, but it's goofy. But to be fair with Lindros even told the guy he's not going to play for him, but he drafted him anyway. So you kind of got to blame the GM on that one. But I'm with Torts. Even
he got a haul.
Yeah, he's in the hall, and he.
Well, I mean, he got a haul back.
Oh God, yeah, I thought you meant Hall of Fame, but yeah, they got Peter Forsberg, another future Hall of Famer. But going back even to the coaching now, like sometimes I feel like if you are hard on these guys, they're like, and they'll throw a hissy fit with the media and stuff like that. Remember Torts a couple of seasons ago, he benched Patrick Laine. It was a big deal. Yeah. Like, why would you bench this guy? I benched him because he's not playing the way we play, and I'm the coach. And it was a big deal. Same with the guy they traded him for, Pierre-Marc,
Pierre-Marc
Dubois is also having tons of issues with LA. Tons of issues right now. Drew Doughty.
Everywhere
Drew
he's
Doughty
gone.
Called him out on the bullshit.
Really?
Recently.
He
called him out. Going for stats and worrying about your numbers instead of what's right for the team. He called him out publicly while he was in the locker room. So,
wow.
I mean, that's another guy. He got into a fight with Torts, and he complained and whined about it, and he wanted a trade. It's like, oh my goodness, dude, who do you think you are? You're not Wayne Gretzky. You're not playing Gretzky. Like, you're not putting 50 in. You're barely hitting 30. And,
I don't think he's doing that.
But I love Torts. I mean, look what he's doing in Philly. That team should be right where the Blackhawks are right now. They should be neck and neck with us, competing for the first round lottery pick. But they're in a playoff spot, and he's going through problems now. He lost a starting goalie with the whole Team Canada scandal going up. I don't want to. I'm not going to speculate because there's nothing set in stone, but. He lost his goalie, and they're figuring it out. That's how good of a coach he is. And Cam Atkinson came out, which I'm a big Cam Atkinson fan, a very underrated player. He said he doesn't understand the hate Torts gets because this guy, if you do right by Torts, he has your back and he fights for you. And that's exactly what you want in a coach. And for Cam Atkinson to say that, he was great in Columbus. Dude, he was like the Rick Nash of that time. Cam Atkinson, he was Mr. Blue Jacket. And he coached him there, and then he ended up going. Torts said, hey, get him over here. I love this guy. I want this guy in the room, So I'm a big Torts fan. I think the guy knows this stuff. And you could tell he was kind of being careful, too, how he worded it. Like, he didn't want to come across as, like, a straight asshole. Like, these kids are assholes, But he's like, the game is just kind of dumb. That's what he said.
Yeah.
But I'm
stupid.
with him. I mean, you got to there's so many different personalities and players now. And some guys, like, their feelings get so hurt. And it's like, oh, my God, dude. Like, can you imagine telling Mike Keenan, like, hey, you're being mean to me? That dude would tug your jersey like he did with Eddie Belfour back in the day. Like, shut up and sit down and learn. And Jeremy Roenick even said, that guy came up behind me, grabbed me, and he said, if you don't hit, you will not play in the NHL. You will not play for my team. And Roenick's like, that scared the shit out of me. The next shift, I went out there throwing my body around like a freaking 6'5", 250-pound guy. And I was like nothing. So I think that the kids, they're very spoiled and entitled, it seems like. And I think that's what his message was when he was saying that in the media.
Ironically, I think Adam Graves he beat the shit out of somebody in the game. And then he told Keenan that he was next if he didn't shut the hell up.
That was the Tony Amani podcast. And that's another... Tony Amani got ran out of town by Keenan because he called him, you're a rich prick from Boston, a private school bitch, he called him. And Amani's like, fuck you, in his Boston voice. But Adam Graves said the same thing. He was fighting the hell out of the guy, beating the hell out of him. He turns at Keenan, he goes, you're fucking next. That's what, I mean, it's crazy. Like, you got to be really careful. I think the best coaches out there are John Cooper. I love him. And I like Rod Brindamore, and I love Torts still. He's kind of like the last of its, like the enforcers, they're kind of dying. There's really none. Torts is like the last of that old school mold, and who knows how long it's going to take. I'm sure they'll get sick of it in Philly. It usually, they get sick of, the 4 years of Torts being a hard ass and getting these guys in line, and then they find like a new guy with different ideas and gets them over the hump, so, which sucks for Torts, but he's really good at, getting a team fixed. Like they got a problem. We got a locker room problem here. That's what he said. And it seems like they fixed it pretty damn fast and
got rid of a lot of people.
Definitely a Jack Adams nominee for me. Candidate. Oh, for sure.
So Zegras, he got a 3-year deal at $5.75 million per. So
wait a minute.
5.75 a year.
That's what he's getting? 5.7?
Yeah.
He should be freaking happy with that.
We said that we would give him between 3.5 and 5.5. So they gave him 5 points. 3.5 and 4.5. I was like, that's what I'll give him. But he's getting 5.7 a year, which is almost 6.
That's very good for a 60 goals or 60 point season.
It's a bridge deal. Yeah. It's a show me deal.
I think the bridge deal should be it should be a thing. Like it should.
Well, the thing is who is eligible? Not eligible. Who is the type of player that you give that to? Zegras obviously is one of those guys.
I think Jack Hughes should have got one too, but the Devils they gambled
at the time.
They gambled and it paid off for both parties, in my opinion. If anything,
because if he would have gotten
Hughes got jacked.
If he would have gotten that, he would have had 3 years. He would have had a 3-year deal, and they'd end up paying him $12 million instead of $8 million.
And that's where his point production rate would be. I mean, you put up 100 points, you're going to get that. And if anything, Hughes is getting screwed, but I'm sure he's happy. He's the top dog there. He is guaranteed. But what is it? 8 times 8? That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and it's guaranteed you're going to get it. And you know what? He's still young enough. He might cash in on another deal, another good deal.
We were talking about Pittsburgh before, man. I forgot to mention that Jagr's getting his number retired. They were saying that there was a possibility that he might even play.
He could. Did you see it? He was out in the morning skate this morning, and he looked good. And you know what, man? It's crazy. Like when you say you're at a game and you look down at a player, just by looking at him, you know who he is. Sometimes like, oh, what guy is that? What like you're looking. He's just got that persona. Like he's got those big black skates, big legs, and the mullet. It's like that's Jagr. You don't even have to freaking wait for a number, someone to tell me. You know what I mean? But there's guys like that, like Duncan Keith. You could see his hair flowing. Tony Amani was another one. Obviously Gretzky, the skinny guy wearing a helmet as thick as a piece of tinfoil.
Sheet of paper.
But Jagr, he still got that, man, and I'm happy for him. I think he's the best European player to ever play. He's just
absolutely.
I just got a good memory of him just schooling the Hawks that year. They made it the final. beat Dirk Graham. He beat a Sutter. He beat Belfour. He beat, I think, another good defenseman. But he just made the Hawks look stupid. And that was just a sick goal he scored. But he was great. I would have loved to see him stay with Pittsburgh, though. He jumped around a little bit. I think he went to the Rangers.
Stay in the NHL,
yeah, he went
man.
to the Rangers a couple, and then he ended up going pretty much everywhere. Calgary, Dallas, Boston. It's like, when does it stop? I wish he could have been a Pittsburgh lifer. He should have been a Pittsburgh lifer. And he probably would have.
He should have been their captain for 50 years.
He probably would have passed Gretzky if you think about it. He probably would have passed him in points. Probably.
Yeah.
But
he was good enough too.
I don't know about goals, maybe, but I think Ovi is the closest now, and he's got to have 2 more good seasons, and I think Ovi will catch Gretzky. But going back to Jagr, man, I think he would have been right there. He would have been right there if he didn't jump around at Czech or Russia, wherever he went. But that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, he went to the KHL.
That's what he wanted to do.
All right, everybody, that's all that we got for you today. Thanks for listening. Let us know what you want to hear about on the podcast. We've kind of jumping around all over the place, which we like to do with the NHL news because, there's a lot going on right now. We're going to be getting to the playoff push. What are some predictions you got? And let us know on Twitter. This is a Tomahawk. We're out of here.